Hello, and welcome back to our journey through the book of Job. Today, we're diving into chapters 9 and 10, where Job responds to his friend Bildad's rather unhelpful advice. If you remember from last time, Bildad basically told Job, "You must have sinned, because God doesn't punish the innocent." Now, let's see how Job takes that. Job starts chapter 9 not by arguing that he's sinless, but by asking a much deeper question. How can a mortal be righteous before God? He's not just talking about himself anymore. He's speaking for all of humanity. He looks at the universe and sees God's immense power. He says, God moves mountains, shakes the earth, commands the sun not to shine, and seals up the stars. He alone stretches out the heavens and treads on the waves of the sea. He created the constellations, the Bear, Orion, the Pleiades. These are wonders beyond our understanding. Job feels completely overwhelmed by this power. He says if God were to pass by, he wouldn't even see him. If God were to snatch something away, who could stop him? Who could possibly say, "What are you doing?" This isn't a God you can take to court. Job feels that even if he were completely innocent, he wouldn't be able to argue his case. He says, though I am in the right, I cannot answer him. I must appeal for mercy from my adversary. It's like trying to debate a hurricane. The power difference is just too vast. He even imagines a courtroom scenario. If he were to call on God and God actually answered, Job doesn't believe he would be heard. God crushes him with a tempest and multiplies his wounds without cause. He feels that no matter how hard he tries to clean himself up, to prove his integrity, God would just plunge him back into the pit, making him seem guilty again. The core of his frustration is this. God is not a man like he is. There's no one to mediate between them, no umpire who can lay a hand on them both and bring them together. It's a cry of pure desperation for a mediator. Someone who can bridge this seemingly infinite gap between a perfect God and a suffering man. This desperation spills over into chapter 10, which reads almost like a direct, raw prayer to God. Job is done talking to his friends. He's taking his complaints straight to the source. He says, I loathe my very life. Therefore, I will give free rein to my complaint, and speak out in the bitterness of my soul. He asks God directly, do not condemn me. Show me why you contend with me. It's a question that echoes through the ages whenever people suffer. Why? Why is this happening? Job questions God's motives. He asks if it brings God pleasure to oppress him, to reject the work of his own hands. He wonders if God sees things the way humans do, if his days are short and fleeting like ours, that he has to search so eagerly for Job's guilt. Job knows he's not wicked. He feels like he's being hunted, and he can't understand why. He reminds God, your hands shaped me and made me. He uses the beautiful analogy of being formed like clay, of being poured out like milk and curdled like cheese. He's saying, you created me. You gave me life and showed me kindness. Why are you destroying me now? It's a deeply personal and emotional plea. Job feels that God had this plan to make him suffer all along, that even the good times were just a setup for this misery. He feels like a lion being hunted by God, who constantly displays his power against him. The pain is so intense that Job returns to the wish that he had never been born. He wishes he could just disappear into the darkness, a land of gloom and deep shadow where there is no order and the light is like darkness. These two chapters are incredibly heavy, but they are also incredibly real. Job is wrestling with the biggest questions of life, faith, and suffering. He doesn't have the answers, and his honesty is what makes his story so powerful. He's not pretending to have it all together. He's laying his broken heart bare before God, and in doing so, he gives us permission to do the same. His desperate cry for a mediator finds its ultimate answer, of course, much later in the story of the Bible. But for now, Job is left in the darkness, waiting and questioning. Thanks for joining me for this deep dive. It's a lot to think about, but so important. Join me next time as we continue this incredible journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss it. See you then.